you'd say, we talked about emotions, and now I know wanting something and wanting, say, a car, but how does it fit as a man, having that, for you, having that, that's a desire, object of my desire. I have the finances in place. I could buy it tomorrow morning, but how do we get to decide, should I delay it for another, half year so that I can reprioritize or delay the gratification, something like that.
With delayed gratification, it's good, but also it depends on the journey you are with your money. Because when I'm at a point where I want a car, there's nothing that's going to stop me from getting that car. Regardless, if my mind will want the car, my heart maybe will say, why don't you put maybe this 5,000 somewhere else? But my mind has, this is my dream. This is my dream. But where it comes down, I think for me with delayed gratification, especially, it comes with the small and little things. For me, I'm talking as me, the big things, those are my dreams. But with delayed gratification, I practice it in terms of, right now, I have a phone. There's a new, I have a iPhone 11, I think I'm an iPhone 10, 11, I think, yes, one of that. But
14 is out.
14 is out. 14 is out. Will I go right now as I am?
You have the cash.
I have the cash.
You have the
like
cash.
Let's say I want to get this 14. I want to get this 14. But the phone that I have is doing the job. So for me, that delayed gratification comes with the things that I view as and here I'll decipher needs and wants. Do I need it? If I need that car, I'll get me that car. If it has reached a time for me to drive that BMW, trust me, I'll get that BMW, regardless of what. Even there are people, honestly, they have 2,000, but they still go get the BMW because that's your dream. But now, also, that's your relationship, because you might find there are people, you might get that BMW and or that car, and it is downhill from there, because cars are also another thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a slippery slope. Well, let's not go there. But essentially, me, I view the big and the small. Okay. Delayed gratification is good because if, for example, I want to teach my kid, today let's not eat out because of A, B, C, D. I have to explain why and ensure that it's not that something, like if Tuesday is pizza day, regardless of whatever comes, it's pizza day. But if you don't have the money, you'll have to reduce on something or decrease on something, and so that you can make ends meet. So yeah, delayed gratification is good if it's a good money saving tool. It can really save you a lot of bucks. If you're thinking of the iPhone 14, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Jones, chime in.
Delayed gratification is an interesting topic, but on my own thinking and perspective, there's something in business that's called bottom line. I need to define my bottom line before acquiring something that, as Marlon said, is a need or want. So I would define the parameters for me to gain something. And for me, I love good watches. And one of the goals I've set out for the next couple of years is always being on time on certain events. For if it's a year, 365 out of 365, and then I'll buy this watch. So it needs to have a story on it. And also something in tech, I believe, Kaloki, you probably know this in terms of training models whereby you put a reward system.
Yep.
So if I've not done a particular amount of work that I had preset before to acquire a car, a house, a watch, if I've not done it diligently, I won't do that, because as we went back, who is a man? And you say a man is somebody who stems out from character and values. If I didn't follow through, I won't acquire that. I'll have to reset my goal again and follow through, and until I've achieved the core thing. Because for me, success is not what I have, but the unseen character and the unseen being that I've developed throughout the journey. So for me, as long as my inner peace is okay, my outer peace would probably follow through. So delayed gratification for me would be, I've set a goal, I need to follow through every parameter that I told myself to follow for me to acquire something. Yeah.
It's a bit sensitive, this one. I think every man, regardless of the size or their age, nationality, creed, belief system, they have an ego. And I think my understanding is the ego is the self. I, me, this is what I want, or that kind of thing. And I think if it's healthy, it could be useful, channeled towards achievement and success, and realization of dreams and goals, and just having a drive. Part of that requires a certain boost or injection in someone's ego. But where it gets, I think, a little bit out of whack is where you have this ego overshadowing other key areas or key things in life. Maybe being self-centered and being selfish. Operating without being mindful and probably overlooking the needs of others. So if I'm a dad, I want that Lamborghini. I have 3 kids, and that Lamborghini cannot fit child seat, but I want it, me. So my ego kind of wants it, so then I go get it. See, that's a problem, because it's not serving the whole family. Look, if I have another car for the family and I can do that separately and it doesn't affect the way we're operating, that's okay. But if it's, not taking the needs of others, I think that could be a problem. Speaking from multiple levels, we can say on a physical space where you're just not mindful of other people, and that's, I guess, where maybe you could say it's borderline, maybe bullying or just being aggressive, just to get your own way. But I'll probably say just learning to tame one's ego, have that decency, and just being healthy in that regard could be maybe something to strive for. And it's an ongoing journey. I think through different stages, when you're younger, growing up, being a teenager, and getting a broader chest, so almost like a fridge, and you get muscles, and things happen in your body, and you recognize that, and you have more energy, and you can play sport and do things, which is good. But as you continue, in life, we realize that it's not all about winning and me and myself and all these things. So we are here to serve. So I think the higher calling for men maybe will be just learning to utilize that ego and that energy for the service of others and making the world we live in a better place, and assisting fellow men in their point of need. What are your thoughts?
Ego. Honestly, for me, ego is a very huge and very broad space. it can be defined in so many ways. But yeah, essentially you've touched on that. It's the belief of self. It's self before everything. You feel like it's me, do this. You rewarding yourself. It can be either good or bad. For me, I've always viewed ego as sort of, honestly, as a bad word, because there's that, it's good to have, because ego can also drive you. But I think probably there's a different thing that can define that. Like, let's say, probably, you in terms of even having self-control or even your identity, I think in ego, you have more about where you belong, in terms of when you cannot have ego and you obey. Like, let's say you cannot have your ego and be someone who is under God, because your ego will always want to be above, because ego overshadows everything that is above you. You see everything, you as above everything. So with ego, it's more about retraining that self-ideology. Because honestly, if I self-believe that my identity is formed, the ideology or what you said in terms of my physique or how my chest is bulked up, trust you me, 30 years down the line, let's be honest,
Everything drops.
Things.
everything drops,
Gravity wins.
unfortunately. Yes, so you find, or ego can be in so many ways. Like, think about someone who's doing sports. Their ego, it can also propel them to be the best, but they don't take people with them. And I like the way you say it, that for me, I don't know, ego and ego and good does not exist in my world. It's either you practice
One
or the other. But yeah, as in, it's also having that identity or even growing. I think even, I don't know, you're older than me. Would you say your ego has gone down from when you're 20 to when you're at your age now?
Look, as I grow older, I've come to the realization that there are many more things that I don't know, that I used to think that I knew. So I'm maybe more willing to admit where I'm wrong now than I used to be a little bit in my younger years.
Mm-hmm.
But you could say there's a little bit of enlightenment that's happening in the background, and life beats you into shape sometimes. Yeah, but I mean, there is I was reading from this one guy. He wrote a book called "Lead Your Family Like Jesus," and he talks about ego as it's a spectrum. You can have edging God out, ego, ego, or you could have exalt God only, ego. And he says that you need to pick your pill and look at something which will serve you and your family. And so, obviously, from a family perspective, I don't think it's easy to make decisions with your spouse when ego overshadows, the picture. Yeah, things go. There's a lot of noise, right, in the brain. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, it does. I think because what I've seen that you stop that machoism in a way, as in in a way you stop that you're the macho man, like right now you want to uplift everything. The macho man is more centered, but you now want to lift more people. It's not the ideology of me every time. It's you're practicing something that is for a bigger cause other than you. So I think for me, how I view ego now, it's more about how I practice my self-control, how at peace I am with myself. And also, it's about accepting yourself for who you are, your identity in you. Because if you value identity in your physical spectrum, that can change. You get?
Yeah.
Or probably, as men, you can also view that by how many women you have. Like, let's say back in the days, if you had 10 women, you are considered as the tunaita nini?
Bazoo.
Stronger. And the ego there is that guy. You cannot tame him because he understands. One of my friends, he says, one person you cannot control is a young boy with a lot of money, and a guy who is also in love. So it's also crazy. So. Sorry to digress, but in essence, I think building that self-awareness and understanding where you belong and what identifies you, and that core belief about who I am and where my values are grounded, it's much more rewarding, I'd say, in terms of building people. Because right now I'm in a phase where it's more about building people than building me. I understand that we move together as in a pack of wolves, and and men, you need to have that, as it says, as iron sharpens iron, moving together. Because if there's always going to be ego in between you, it's probably never gonna work, and you're always going to feel a sense of inferiority. Like if, let's say me, I'm working with Kaloki, and Kaloki, I feel like Kaloki is the macho man. As in, truth be told, you feel that sense of inferiority. But if you're working with a sense of purpose and belonging, and you have one goal to chase, regardless of if I'm bulked up, if I'm small, thin, tall, short, regardless of my physique, that is disowned. Like, that is removed. It's that inner thing that drives us, that common shared purpose. And that's much better than your self ambition, I'd say.
Yeah.
Jones?
I'd probably borrow a couple of thoughts from Marlon, talking about my understanding of ego being bad. So question would probably stem, can we have good devils? As well as the egocentric ideology that majority of us have, because we have certain train of thoughts. And I believe through enlightenment, as Kaloki has said, through reading books, through associating with different people, different cultures, different backgrounds, we get to stretch our thinking ability towards particular things, and our, let's say, our beloved ways might be challenged by a thing or two. And ego in the male spectrum, I think there's been a record throughout the genesis of the world on something about male chauvinism, whereby man believes that they are right and they are the law and they are the rule, and it starts with them and finishes with them. I think through time we found that we might have biases because of certain limitations. I would probably say that the only Alpha and Omega would be God, because he's not defined or he's not confined by the inferior thinking that a being has. But yeah, so going from being egocentric to the male chauvinism, and you being enlightened and coming off that would be a good step. But a key thing that comes from ego, as Kaloki and Marlon have talked about, is something called self. And this is a question that I asked my friend, and instead of answering me, he asked me another question. And this was a question he asked me: where do I place my self-image? So who do I give my self-image? What's the anchor of my self-image? And that got me thinking. So if my anchor is my muscles, as Marlon said, as Kaloki said, gravity wins. If the BMW is my anchor, there's a guy there's a guy I worked with who told me I think we were being paid the same amount of money. He got a BMW and I got a second-hand car, which is from point A to point B. And he got a loan of 70,000 to go with the BMW. But a week later, he was involved in an accident, and I think he forgot to press the select button on the insurance. So I think his ego might have been bruised, and that's an expensive lesson.
I think you touched on a very interesting thing. Ego being bruised.
Yeah.
And I view that in a very interesting way. Because when you have ego, that's what I'm trying to decipher here, good and bad ego. When you have ego, when it's bruised, you tend to react in a very personal way. You want to go out. Like if like let's say if I challenge you in terms of like let's say your ego is being identified by how you look, you'll try as much as possible, or you'll try to show me, like prove a point.
Yeah.
But if this ego is more centered in a value, like it's more centered in a value, in a belief system, in a sense of identity. When it's bruised, you don't think about how am I going to fight back.
Yeah.
You think about, okay, what can I do better in terms of improving myself?
True.
And it's that you're feeling like, hey, okay, that guy made a point.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say that when something that you have is challenged, that you just go and say, okay, he said this, okay, let me turn back and drive back and say, I'll go do this. No, also
present your points.
Engage,
Yeah.
put out your points, because where you are, you have a sense of ideology. If it's challenged, if it's bruised, some people will go shift a different way. But you have to.
There's something I was listening. Simon Sinek, in his book The Infinite Game, he talks about living life, which is infinite. But if you live life with finite rules, you lose, because life is infinite. And he said there are a few other things like relationships, they're infinite. And we need to understand that infiniteness, and then our emotions and ego, self-esteem, self-image, and all those things, they take a certain turn and shape, which can allow us to have sustained relationships, sustained health, because we understand this is infinite in nature. And I think it's interesting because I believe that in the heart of a man there is eternity, and that infiniteness of life, or what we do here, to be continued on the other side when we change from this physical form and all the muscles are gone and everything, right? So then how will it be? So I think it's an interesting place if you think about it in terms of being infinite.
Final remarks. Stepping out from men and how to improve. This is probably the ideology that I've collected over time, and I would say there's hope. That's one. Where you find yourself now can be changed if action is taken. There is a well of men who are older than us. So, for example, for me, Marlon and Kaloki, who have preceded me in certain things in terms of career, Kaloki in marriage. I can approach them and ask for feedback. I can ask for perspectives. And somebody said a mentor, probably somebody you look up to. But this is an interesting thing that I've been looking forward to, that a mentor or somebody who is older, an older man, is somebody who gives you the leverage of time. So instead of taking 10 years to learn something, they're able to help you compress the time. So there is hope if you're willing to learn, if you're engaged in a growth mindset, there is hope. And yeah, the world is an oyster, so design your own life.
Probably say a few things. Number one, willingness to learn and grow. Two, I'd say pick a model. Every day we aspire to be like someone that we admire. So if you pick, say, somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, bulk up, also ask yourself why you picked that model. I'll probably say there are definitely good models to look up to, but it's also important to know that your path is unique and a vision of your future that you have in your dream or what you envision could be unique to yourself. Just tap into the wisdom of good books, good mentors, good groups around the community, like Men's Shed or Men's Forum, or just places where healthy men meet and deal with issues honestly and in a vulnerable way, and just call a spade, and also people that maybe would respect your privacy and just keep things what needs to be private. I'll probably say, if it's possible, pick a good book, maybe peruse the pages, read a bit. Every year, maybe review your, where the money is going. So if your money is going, of course, groceries and bills and Wi-Fi and all those things are great things. But also, at the end of the year, did you invest anything in your spirituality, financial acumen, your ability to relate, human relationships, a big topic. We do a PhD on it, but you just, at least you can invest a little bit and read and just understand. Take time to reflect. I think reflecting helps a lot. Just reflecting on experiences and picking those lessons and adjusting where it is necessary. Being willing to change your ways if it is required. That was a hard one for me. I kind of, just set and forget autopilots. But, COVID and things change and we have to adapt and change. So, especially us men. I think that's it.
I think mainly, for me personally, it's more about, one, it's where you put your time. Where you put your time is where your heart is. Self-development is very key. And for people, I'm even talking to someone out there in terms of even probably you've had a set of mistakes or even a past or different ways. And like I read something interesting, and it was more about your past is your past, and if it continues affecting your present, then it's still your past. So in that way, you need to view it in terms of where you're going to next, like your next goal. And I'm viewing that in terms of where I'm going next, in terms of finding people who can help. Like even now, I'm trying to be very intentional about the people I interact with. I'm looking for more people that can tell me no or you are wrong than people who are telling me yeses, because I believe those are people that build me up more than the people that tell me yes. So essentially, it's that progression. If you view progress in a way that it's enhancing you, and chase your dreams whatever they are. If your goal is to have thing A or thing B, chase after it, get it, look for a bigger goal, because we are here to there's a bigger thing that we are here we have been called to, and in a way that we need to achieve that. There's a purpose that we have, and God has set us for that purpose. So try as much, even if you've deviated, come back to a course. And life is to move forward, regardless of yesterday. Keep pushing and essentially building your skills, finding people. Iron sharpens iron, finding people who can help you, finding a community of men who don't despise you for who you are, and discussing meaningful things, because that's a very key area. People who are building you and people who are really invested in you, and also you being invested in them, because it's a two-way street. It's not just you, that's ego, right? So so trying to also give that back to other people. Invest people who build you, and you build them. And my goal, let's move forward as a pack of wolves and get to this goal. The bigger the goal, the bigger the more men we require. And it's an army out here, and we need to come together, hold hands. If you've never held another man's hand, it's time we push forward. So the goal is in front. So yeah, it's good.